Good evening. I'll now call our meeting to order. Our first order of business is to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the final agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the final agenda.
Thank you. Commissioner Rim, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Schauer, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Our next order of business is to adopt the minutes from our July 15, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mallory. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Bean, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. We'll now move on to our discussion items. Item 3.1, proposed zoning code Article 3 discussion. This is our first and only discussion item for tonight. I'll turn it over to Travis Brierly for our staff presentation, but before I do, I remind us again, our focus is land use planning and public policy input. So we'll stay at a high level, and hopefully we can keep the discussion substantive around the points that Travis will guide us through. Travis, go ahead.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Tonight is the next part of Article 3 that we'll be taking a look at. This is going to focus specifically on the standards for business districts. Just a quick background, we're going through this process of reviewing the entire city code, not only for modernization, but we recognize that there are some shortfalls in our current code resulting in significant comments and as well as code changes that we had to do last year just to get some modernization and some consistency with today's standards. The goals for this, we always want to be transparent. Staff is going to make sure that we are available for questions and comments from commissioners during and after meetings, before meetings, whenever, as well as residents. All our contact information is on the website. This is a flexible process. There's a lot of stuff to it. It's complicated, and it can get way more complicated if we wanted to, but we want to stay flexible. This is also being done in conjunction with reviewing the city's municipal code. The zoning code and the municipal code, they need to line up with each other and work in harmony. So there's a double review going on with that. And then the ultimate goal is to recodify next year, probably late summer is what we're kind of looking at, and bring everything back into one book. The process is pretty straightforward. We're going to review and propose language for the zoning code. It's a full review of the zoning code. The proposed code is about 200 pages in length as it sits right now. We're going to move zoning. There's some zoning ordinances that need to go to the municipal code, vice versa. We're going to go ahead and we're going to track all the changes, and staff will make sure we keep a master copy with all the comments, changes, red line, and things like that. Like I said, tonight we're looking at Article 3 for the district regulations in the business districts. Sorry, I got to do a note. And then next, and then you can see how everything kind of lays out, how we're going to go through things over the next several months. We're specifically looking at the performance standards underneath the business or underneath the district regulations. Just a reminder, Division 1, we looked at the district classification, and then kind of the uses, so that's the rights of the city and things of that nature. Just a reminder of all the district classifications that we currently have proposed within the city. Just to remember, R1A is listed on there. That's not an approved zoning district yet. R4 has been removed to fit with the comp plan with our densities, and then our special overlay districts, adding a couple, and then moving like Lake Minnetonka residential from a zoning district to an overlay. Just a couple things to keep in mind there. We went through Division 2 where we looked at the intent and why we have the performance standards, why it's important, as well as a list of everything on there. One thing that we didn't cover is Knox boxes, which is something that staff was working on with the fire chief. And if you don't know what a Knox box is a box that you put outside a business or outside a multifamily building that has a key to get into the building as well as into any interior doors. The Knox box is secured where the fire department's the only one that actually has a key to access it. And that way, if there is a fire or an emergency personnel can get into the building without having to break down doors, which not only damage the property, but also can pose a risk to the individuals within the building as well as the firefighters or police or medical staff. So what this does is it requires that any business, regardless of size, or any residence that has a common space that's shared between patrons, we require to have a Knox box. This is in the zoning code. What that means, it means if this was to be passed today, if a business didn't have it, or one of the qualified residential properties didn't have it, they would still, they become legal non-conforming to this part of the code. It would only be if they had a qualifying event, such as receiving a new certificate of occupancy, increasing the number of residential units, increasing the footprint of the common space, or if there was a fire and they had to do repairs. And then it would apply to any type of new construction that would come in, or renovations that would then meet these criteria. So tonight specifically, we're also going to be talking about the standards for the districts, off-street parking requirements for the CBD, Central Business District, design standards for the Central Business District, as well as design standards for all our other districts, which are C1, C2, and I1. The first part we're looking at is this is an amendment or amended section that staff looked at, where for our off-street parking, we looked at parking size, parking and loading standards, lighting and light pollution, and then the number of parking spaces required. During our last planning commission meeting, the question came up on parking stall length and what would be appropriate and things like that. Staff did do some research into that. 19 feet for your standard parking spot is a foot longer than comparables to most of the communities on this side of the metro. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's long enough to fit other vehicles. Like a Ford crew cab with a full-size bed is well beyond 19 feet. It's not going to fit in the stall. If you throw a hitch on it, it's longer. But one of the things that we have to keep in mind when we're looking at the size of the parking spaces is there is drive aisle space. For a single lane, it's 18 feet, and for a two-way, it's 24, so there could be some stick out. But if we make parking spaces too large, then we're increasing the amount of impervious surface needed for a parking lot. We could be having a reduction in the amount of spaces that could appropriately fit on a site, as well as that could affect the size of the building and some of the economic balance. So it is kind of a balancing act. We want to get most. We know that there's some things that aren't going to work, but the beauty of the zoning code will never be perfect. If it was, we wouldn't have PUD processes. So were there any questions when going through this of any of these type of topics, just off the cuff?
The fireboxes are condition or condition or condition to install one, not and.
Correct. It's one qualifying act for it.
Anyone qualifies, yeah.
Correct. Looking at the requirements for the CBD, this is amended. These requirements were looked at just a couple of years ago. All this was updated. So we only made some minor edits to meet today's climate of development and redevelopment inside the Central Business District, especially with downtown West. And that was a huge focal point of why some of this does exist. So these are going to apply to all developments and significant redevelopments. A lot of the goals with this is we want to keep the historic factor that we do have to the downtown while modernizing. We still want to keep it compact, and we want to make sure that we preserve that pedestrian-oriented character. Basically what that means is that we want growth, we want to allow for growth and redevelopment, but we don't want to have it change in such a way that takes away from the character that already exists in the community. We want to expand on that. In addition to that, because of the compactness that we have in the Central Business District, shared parking is a permitted option. Shared parking does require the city's approval when you go through and do your calculations, else parking needs to be on the property where the principal structure is. When you talk about shared parking, we're talking about parking within 500 feet. That is using our public lots or using the on-street. 500 feet might sound like a long distance, but if you park at Target in the back row in Waconia and you walk to the door, you've probably walked 500 feet just to get there. So you're only talking a minute to a minute and a half, or 1 to 3 minute walk, no matter where you are. We also have the design standards for the Central Business District, and this is how we apply to keep that historic content and keep the compactness and the pedestrian oriented to it. Is we're looking at setting minimum standards for architectural design, for building facades, ground level, how's it gonna look from the street, how the building's gonna be designed when you walk into it, as well as the roof design. I would look at the entries and building materials. We're also looking at the exterior lighting, the streetscape design, that's gonna be a lot of the landscaping stuff, as well as any type of architectural privileges that are taken, or monuments and things like that, and signage. So a good example would be the Roars building. The signage that's on the Roars building is of similar design to the signage we already have for where it says public parking. Or where the parking stars all are in there, there's a standard design for it. To the way the businesses will have their signs designed, it's gonna be pretty similar. Now, these are minimum standards that are set, but they're set in such a way that we don't want to infringe on a freedom of expression with the architecture, but we want to have that good model that's designed there. And then when we do look at the exterior lighting, we have to look, everything's so close to each other. Do you want to make sure that we're protecting other businesses and residential properties from having issues that could come from lighting or noise and things like that? However, it is a downtown area. It's going to be louder than your residential area out in your R1 single family areas. We have design standards, which is the next section. This is our C1, C2, and our I district. So not the central business district, not downtown west, but anywhere else we'd have businesses, primarily our south growth. Same thing, setting minimum design standards. They're not as strict, but we'd be looking at rooftops, we'd be looking at the HVAC screening, things like that. So if you have a larger building, say we get a Target or something of that variety, the HVAC system's not sitting on the side of the building, it's put in the roof, it's screened and hidden, and we get a good appearance from those type of developments. We also look at loading areas, which is it's a similar requirement to what we have in the central business, but this allows for a little bit of flexibility because these are going to be bigger areas that are going to be developed. But we want to look at how truck traffic's getting in, how deliveries are getting in, things like that. Primary and accent building materials, going back to how are things going to look, what type of facade it is. You don't want to put up a retail building and throw vinyl siding on it when maybe stucco or brick would be more appropriate for the area. Roofing materials, same thing. Lighting and light pollution is another thing that's looked at, especially because you're going to have larger parking lots. Some of it's going to be near residential. Take the south growth for an area. It's planned to have a large commercial area. Then we have the Quick Trip, which has been approved. To north of that, you have an apartment building, townhomes. Well, you're going to have light pollution coming from both those areas. So what's a good way to control it that still allows flexibility, doesn't put a burden on a business or a multifamily building, but also helps to screen and protect that lighting, that noise, and just that type of bustle from staying where it should and not making its way to the other side. So we have different requirements in for that. With all of that, we're looking at future planning commission meetings. At the next planning commission meeting, we're going to be doing the same thing that's planned for tonight, except it'll be for the residential properties. You'll notice in the staff report, it has the entire division in it. So it goes all the way to the use tables, which we won't be talking about for another 2 meetings, but it's all there. So there's some references to if there's some questions come up outside meetings or during meetings, just to help go through there. The staff report also has in it just some very informal comments of the different areas, just to kind of help guide reading through it. And then, yeah. So are there any questions or comments or anything specific that we need to take a look at in the standards for the business districts tonight?
So thank you, Travis. Appreciate the presentation. So let's open the floor now for the Planning Commission to ask those questions, discuss, raise any concerns that they have from a land use standpoint around just the business district section at this point. Comments?
So just to recap on the C1, C2, I1, recollection is much of those are on the south side of town because more of the central district is more of the historic. So I'm just trying to remember, most of our CI is south.
Yep, so I'll pull up a map and
C1 and
point out
yep.
where this is.
C1 and I1, that's what I was recalling.
We're in this parcel right here,
Yep.
up way up north, and then our industrial area is all to the west of us.
Yep.
Our C1 and C2 go into the south growth areas, which are going to be these parcels, right? So that's County Road 10 and County Road 11 is where that's primarily going to be focused. So those are much larger parcels that are undeveloped, so we can have the larger type of developments, whether that be mixed-use buildings, whether that be strip malls, whether it be standalone restaurants or some big box store, things like that. That's what would be in those type of areas.
Travis, for context, that long, straight diagonal line, that's the railroad tracks?
This line that's running out of that 45-degree angle, correct, that is the railroad track.
And then the larger line just below it, that's 212,
No, 212 is going to be
further down?
over here. 212 is far to the east, so just a few miles to the east.
Okay. Oh, it's 10, yeah, okay.
Angler.
So this is where the mouse is right now. That's where that the Quick Trip is going. And then we have Victoria Ridge with the townhomes, and then Victoria Ridge Second, which is the apartment building that we looked at in the past couple months.
Yep.
And then you have your Marsh Hollow, Hunters Brook, and that type of stuff. So other context would be this is where they got the roundabout going and that has the road shut down.
Good. Other questions, comments?
No, this one seems pretty
Yeah, no,
reasonable.
I think for the benefit of those viewing, we all, or some of us had pre-meetings and had a chance to ask one-on-one questions that we might have had relative to the new business district standard. I thought the new standards were really well done for the CBD. Parking is a hardy perennial and will continue to be an issue that we have to struggle with over time. How do we fund adequate parking and yet keeping the small-town charm and feel of downtown Victoria? But that's something that I'm sure the city staff is well aware of. So if there's nothing else, we'll close the discussion. But
I just, yeah,
Yeah, go ahead,
one
please.
last comment I'd make is I just wanted to convey to staff that I appreciate the change in meeting format and presentation. Concise, gives us what we need. We had the chance to read over the materials. If we had questions, we'd highlight them. So I think it's a much more effective way to go through it. Thank you.
Yep, and the summary in advance, which is useful
Yep.
to us as well. So thank you for that. Commissioners, this request does not require a formal motion, so that concludes our discussion items. Moving on to the miscellaneous section of our agenda. Are there any miscellaneous items from staff?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We do have a few items. So our next meeting will go back to Tuesdays now, since Night to Unite was last night. So we'll be back on our regular Tuesday meeting schedule. The next one will be August 19th. At that one, we'll continue the zoning code discussion with the residential portion, like Travis mentioned. And then we also have a sketch plat coming in. It's a revised sketch plat concept for the Monarch Gannon proposal. I think that's new to most of you, but that one is coming back. Secondly, we have new art in the council chambers, so if you want to look around after the meeting and make your votes, we have little slips of paper on the desk over there, and you can give them to me for which one you like the most. And then the one-on-ones that the chair mentioned, yes, I sent out an email last week. We're just checking in on the zoning code process so far. So if you haven't had a one-on-one with me yet, please schedule that. And we look forward to meeting with all of you. And lastly, you might see some activity at the Victoria House. So that is under some renovation currently. There is a user who will be coming forward in a few months, so you should see some more activity in our downtown area. I don't have any other updates other than that, Chair.
Thank you, Brian. In case anybody's interested, there's a concert going on outside, so it's like a built-in advertisement for the public concert series here in Victoria. Commissioners, any miscellaneous items from anyone? If not, Can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
I'll
Adjourn.
Is there a second?
second it.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there anyone opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.